Kid Rock and Kim Kardashian shared it on their fucking stories. I was like, yes, that's sick. Yeah, chubby old me on there. And I'm like fucking talking my nonsense on their Instagram stories. It's incredible.
Rick, from a very young age, was surrounded by sexual activity. That sounds like you were the victim of paedophilia. That's not what happened.
I was not the victim of paedophilia.
No, that's not what happened.
I grew up in brothels.
So I'm basically the face of the lottery in Czech Republic and Slovakia. So if you buy a Eurojackpot ticket, you will be seeing this mug.
You know, we've kind of got the young, handsome youth, and then the old, grumpy, rigid cunt.
Fucking uncalled for.
Yeah, I love how it was like the good-looking young guy, and then this old guy, the model.
Yeah.
Your analogy fell down a little bit there, Rick. Do you know what I mean?
Touche, sir. I will fucking put myself back in my box.
Hello, and welcome to the Mildly Controversial podcast. On this week's episode, we have got two chaps who have previously been on this podcast in its former guise when it was called the Lock-In Podcast, before we had the idea of getting people's mildly controversial opinions. So, we decided to get them both back on so we could hear their mildly controversial opinions and so that they could plug the shit out of their new podcast. As good as reason as any in it. So, I'd like you to welcome Johan and Rick, who are friends of I like to say friends of ours. Haven't actually met them in real life, but Baz has. So, friends of Baz's, but through social media and the podcast and that, I'm claiming them as my mates as well.
Do it. I would.
Yes.
So, yes, these guys are. I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll have a little chat individually to each one, and then we will talk through their new podcast, which is really exciting. So, I'll tell you what, Rick. We'll come to you first, okay. Because you are in a log cabin in Cornwall.
I am in a log cabin in Cornwall. Yes, sir, I am.
Thanks to Rick for taking his audio setup with him all the way to working away in Cornwall. Massively appreciated. And also for, as we discussed before we started recording, lighting himself up with his phone light. Now that is a pro, isn't it? Just having a look and just thinking, I am not lit properly. I need more lighting.
Everyone else looks so good.
He's draining his phone battery just to light his own face during this podcast, which, if you are listening on the audio podcast, is completely wasted on you, but I massively appreciate it.
Well, then that means that they'll have to either subscribe to, I guess, your YouTube or watch on Facebook, won't they?
That's absolutely right, which is facebook.com/mildlypod. There you go.
There you go.
And yeah, it'll be on YouTube if I remember to put it up, because I very often forget.
Yeah, don't bother with that.
Okay, so Rick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Rick. I'm not a social media influencer in any respect. I think I just got very lucky and my page got a substantial amount of followers through Instagram and TikTok. Anyway, while that happened, I had the pleasure of meeting Johan and Baz. Johan, me and him have become very, very, I will say besties, but he hates that term, but I will say we've become besties because he is my pal. And, yeah, we've started our own podcast together, which is very fun to do. It's obviously a lot of admin and behind the scenes that if you don't do or run a podcast, people won't know how much work physically really fucking goes into it. But, yeah.
Baz doesn't understand that either.
Say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think me and Baz are on the same boat, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Baz is like some fucking diva who just wanders onto set, speaks, chuckles a bit, and then fucks off and leaves me to do all the hard labor.
Bro.
Yeah, mate, me and Baz are the same.
It's fucked, man.
Can I just say, you imagine if me and Johan did a podcast, it would just be us sitting there doing fuck all.
It wouldn't even get published. It wouldn't even get published.
Oh, no,
Rick, we are safe in the knowledge that Baz and Johan are not going to leave us and start their own podcast.
Correct.
That is the safest bet of all bets.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we had you on a good while back, and you spoke about your upbringing and lots of really interesting things. So I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm going to say to people, if you want to, you can't listen to that because it's not on the audio podcast. So you have to go to YouTube for that. There you go, which is youtube.com/mildlypod. And I remember to put this podcast on YouTube so infrequently. It's probably only about 3 back, even though it was recorded 2.5 years ago. So yes.
Yeah, you'll be able to find it really easy then.
It is there, and it's a really, really good one, by the way. And so now on to our next guest, who has also been on our previous podcast, The Lock-In, back in the days when I think it was still live back then as well, which was a brave old move because we decided quite soon that it was like audio podcast is the way forward because you can edit out all the shit and there's no pressure of getting it right first time.
Well, I remember Johan's podcast because we did it live and we had some guests who come on afterwards just so they could meet Johan. It was amazing.
They did.
Right, I remember that.
If people are listening to this or watching this who aren't in Slovakia, can you tell us who you are and where you come from and what you do?
Oh, mate, I currently reside up in the Highlands of Scotland. I've been up here. I literally moved up here. I think 3 months into the first lockdown when Boris Johnson said, "Right, that's it. We're shutting the country down." That's when I moved up. And I've been up here since. I kind of would say I live the perfect life because I kind of work when I want, do what I want, and I've got a steady income with the job that I've manifested. That was supposed to be a test commercial because my background is modeling and acting. And I got a test commercial that was supposed to be only for 3 months, and they were going to put it out on air. And if it worked, they were going to pull the commercial and then cast a big, well-known name in the commercial and run with it. And as luck would have it, and as I manifested it, literally on the second day of the shoot, the production or the client basically called me in and he said, "We like what we see. Do you want to sign a 3-year deal with us right now?" And that was 10 years ago. So...
Wow. So do you want to tell people what it is?
So I'm basically the face of the lottery in Czech Republic and Slovakia. So if you buy a Euro jackpot ticket, you will be seeing this mug.
I can't remember your character name. Who do you play there?
So I play a guy called Henri, and he's a billionaire. So he's higher than a millionaire, and the whole concept behind it is this guy's got so much money, but he doesn't show off. He's not. If you're a millionaire, you drive around in a Ferrari and you show off to your mates that you've got a bit of money. But if you're a billionaire, he just lives that lifestyle because that is what you can do. And I mean, the commercial sort of things that we were shooting is, for instance, a millionaire would invite all his pals onto a private jet. And they would all drink champagne and get absolutely pissed and have a great time. Whereas a billionaire, and in the commercial, I would then push away the champagne and drink a glass of water because I would rather pilot my own jet. Yes. And I fly off into the sunset. So it's that sort of concept, you know. I do all the commercials for them, all the online footage as well as all the photographic stuff.
Don't they fly you off to some like really exotic places in the world?
Yeah, so they fly me off once a year for between 7 and 10 days. We've been to Thailand, Mexico, Mauritius, Cape Town. All Dominican Republic. Once a year they fly me out for like 7-10 days. It's a full-on 10 days where literally it's just head down filming from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And that's it. After those 10 days, that's more or less my work done for the year. So I can go and climb mountains.
The hardest 10 days ever. Oh my goodness. Terrible.
I love the fact that your life reflects what you just said as well. So a millionaire to social distance would just buy a bigger house. A billionaire moves up into the fucking mountains of the Highlands of Scotland.
More or less, yes. So you can go and climb big rocks.
Taking it up to, I was like, no, I'm not just gonna buy a much, much larger plot of land.
Mate.
I'm gonna take control of most of the north of Scotland.
In the time that I've got off, I just climb on roads and I go on adventures, and that's how my TikTok started. Was a little bit of thirst trapping, as I think we we called it back in the day. Me and Baz and Rick were flourishing in that. And then we kind of all found our niches, where Baz was doing the transition thing and I was doing a bit more sort of motivational things with included new adventures, and I would deliver quotes with beautiful scenery behind me, and that kind of worked and it took off. And I still do a little bit of that every now and then, not as much as I used to. I used to do, back in the day, 2-3 videos a day. I might do 2-3 a month now if I'm lucky.
I'm just thinking though that I'm sat in a room and I'm just going to throw myself. Between the four of us, we've probably got about 3 million followers between the four of us.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. You three are doing the heavy lifting on that, by the way. But I'm jumping myself into that one. It's like, the four of us are social media influencers that have over 3 million followers. So that's excellent.
Yeah, it's a bit of fun. That's all that was, and it just snowballed, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just good fun.
I remember when Rick was, his account was really growing, and then he got it taken off him. He was like, uh-oh.
It made me so sad.
Fucking hell, it was
think
devastating, wasn't it?
Yeah, like it gained so much traction really quickly, like hundreds of thousands of followers. And that was at the time where, like, when you had TikTok in 2020, if you had 10,000 followers, people would kind of be like, fucking hell, like, who is this famous person? Like, we all thought it. I don't care who you are. We all thought it, didn't we? And if somebody had over 100,000, we were like, fuck, who is this
Mate,
king
I
or
remember
queen?
when I got 3,000 on TikTok, I was over the moon, mate.
Yeah,
I was like, this is
yeah.
unreal, bro. And I even did a thank you video to everyone who was following me for 3,000.
Yeah, like every 1,000 followers,
Same.
we used to do thank you videos. Yes.
Literally 3,000. I was
Fuck,
like,
could you imagine
mate,
trying
this
that now?
is mad.
But yeah, so my TikTok was just blowing up. I was getting hundreds of thousands of fucking followers. It was outrageous. And then out of nowhere, boom, TikTok just went, see you later. Fuck your account. You're not having it. Just took it, mate. And I was like, oh, okay. Fuck me.
Just for context, your account was pulled because your content was a little too spicy for TikTok, wasn't it? Was that the reason?
Well, it was thirst traps, but I wasn't showing anything in respect of nudity or anything like that. Like, maybe I had my top off a few times. Like, it wasn't nudity though, bro. Like, I wouldn't have put nudity on.
No.
TikTok, of course not.
It was the content. The
thirst trapping.
yeah.
But that was when thirst trapping was a thing. Like, what I find really interesting now is I don't think I would have the balls to make a thirst trap.
I still get my pants out.
Yeah, but you know what? I think there's a difference though, Baz, between you just transitioning and you're standing in your pants, whereas we used to sort of pretend to come out of the shower with just the towel on, and then you do a transition into a kilt with no top on. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and the towel would sort of hang off, so you can kind of see the V down here just poking out. Do you know what I mean?
That's for sure. It'd fall straight off.
I guarantee if I made one of those now, my TikTok following would go from 250,000 to 2,000.
Don't be like
And that's only because those ones are not on TikTok and haven't seen me to delete me by now.
stop it.
Right, but the thing is, I remember between me and Rick and Baz, it was fun to do it, but the funnest thing was reading the comments of the ladies, mate.
Oh, yeah,
They
it still
were
is for me, to be fair.
savage, mate. I remember I got this one comment of this one woman, and she said the comments read, I think the bean just flicked itself.
Wow. That is tremendous. Not just a tremendous comment, a tremendous skill.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, mate, they were brutal, bro. They
Yeah.
couldn't give a fuck.
Like, some of the comments were thirsty, man. Like, some of the comments were fucking, like, well, and I always think this, and don't get me wrong, like, people comment and good for them, it's great. But, fuck, could you imagine if people said that to you in real life? You'd be fucking dumbfounded, wouldn't you? Like, could you imagine if somebody walked up to him and I think you're that attractive that I think my fucking pussy is throbbing? Like, you'd be like, what? Like,
I'd be so flattered, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, of course you'd be flattered.
Women say that kind of shit to me all the time when I'm in Aldi.
Could you imagine? But yeah, like, it's phenomenal what people are happy to say to each other online, isn't it?
Well, this is what kind of led to your podcast, wasn't it? Because, like, I remember when your Instagram started growing and you used to put your stories up going, tell me tell me some dark secrets. And I'd read 50, 60 of these things that got pumped into your stories. And this was the thing that led onto your podcast, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Very much.
Yes.
So how it started was my Instagram really took off kind of November 2022. Like to the point where I was tithering around 25,000 followers, and then out of nowhere I gained 100,000 followers, and then ever since then it's just consistently grown. I mean, like fucking out of nowhere, mate. Woke up and I was like, shit, I just gained 60,000 followers overnight. What happened? And basically one of my videos went viral. Which Kid Rock shared, by the way. I'll take that as a little claim to fame.
Nice.
Anyway,
Nice.
yeah, I was fucking pumped, mate. Kid Rock and Kim Kardashian shared it on their fucking stories. I was like, yes, that's sick. Yeah, chubby old me on there, and I'm like fucking talking my nonsense on their Instagram stories. It's incredible. But
The old me.
yeah, mate. So I then started doing Sunday secrets on my Instagram,
that was it,
where basically I'd kind of post up and be like, send in a confession or a secret or fucking something naughty, and I will post it without judgment for viewing pleasure. And this took off, mate. Like I used to get fucking thousands of submissions, and like to the point. So you can only, I only found this out because of it. You can only share 100 stories a day on TikTok, and then what happens is if you share 101, it takes off that one from the first. So you can only have 100 stories. And I was like, fuck. So I basically had to start like scrolling through them and trying to share like the juiciest 100 I could find. And then I wanted to start a podcast. I started really kind of researching it and digging into it. And I saw what goes on behind the scenes and the editing and the time that it takes. And I was like, no, fuck that. Can't do it. Put that on the fucking back burner. Not my cup of tea. I don't have the time to learn it. I'm sure I could, but I just do not have the time to learn it. And then, yeah, kind of time went on, and then the producer for the Confessional podcast, Mike, he comes along and randomly sneaks into my DMs in, I think it was around June time last year. And he was like, hey, like, I'd really love to interview you about being a father and obviously kind of, you know, being quite popular on social media, so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, cool. I'd never kind of had that from a random DM. Anyway, so me and Mike got chatting, and he interviewed me for, he was doing a podcast at the time called Mike's Mixtape. He interviewed me, and yeah, we got on well. And then off of the recording, I was kind of telling him about and I was like, oh, it's so cool that you do a podcast. I was like, I would have loved to have done a podcast, and this was my idea. And he was like, I literally produce podcasts. And I was like, oh, wow, fuck. And then in my head, I was like, fucking hell, like, this guy's going to, like, look for a fee, isn't he? Like, he's trying to plug himself here, sneaky sausage. Obviously, I was interested. And, yeah, then basically we came to the conclusion that, obviously, I spoke to Johan, and Johan agreed that he would be the co-host on the podcast. And anyway, so basically, if the podcast takes off, when the podcast takes off and it starts making anything financial, we split the money 3 ways rather than just between me and Johan. So he does everything completely free in the hope that one day the podcast will take off, and we will get to a point where we are earning an income, not necessarily to be able to live off of, but, you know, earning enough income that we can say, yeah, we got a podcast and we're earning some money off of it.
It's very similar to me and Baz, that in terms of Mike does all the work, and also that when this becomes hugely financially successful, I'll be able to afford to pay Baz 10, 20 quid an episode.
Yes,
So
amazing.
it's quite similar.
Amazing. Yeah,
I love
so
me and Johan on the left-hand side being dead quiet because we do
I know.
absolutely jack shit.
So
Now that you said you're on the left-hand side, I'm going to have to put you and Johan on the left-hand side now of the video.
This is confusing, isn't it?
so
I don't really know how to lay it out anyway, so yeah, you two are on the left-hand side now, but it's going to look a bit lopsided with the blueness on one side now.
It
so.
will, I agree. But
I'll just have to tinker with the like to add hue or something to me and Rick. So we'll probably look like avatars by the time I've
Yeah.
You know, them off the film Avatar, not like a small picture. Yeah. We'll look like the ones off the film Avatar by the time I've made it blue enough for us to match you two. So.
But I do need to say though, it's like mine and Johan's role is here to like have more followers and promote it, right?
Well,
It looks that way. Well,
fuck, I wish that was the case.
Baz.
Yeah, I know. I say this because, like, on the podcast I was on, like, Rick was going, "Yo, and you've got like 1.4 million followers, and you don't share it with any of those fuckers."
He literally does nothing. Nothing. He rocks up on a fucking Tuesday evening at 8:30, potters around and tells a few shitty dad jokes, and then I call him on the fucking Wednesday morning and he's like, "Dad was alright, bro, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was fucking great. How about you share some of this shit?" He shares nothing. Zero.
But see, Rick, a millionaire would share it and be full of self-promotion.
But it's because
Not
he's
the
a
kind of shit
billionaire.
billionaire
He doesn't
does,
need to. That's right, it's billionaire status.
Billionaire sits back and just lets shit happen.
Yeah. So I can't. By the way, I can't take any of the credit for the producing or the behind the scenes, for the sound, the visuals, the editing. Nothing. That's all Mike. Literally, Mike does all of that. He sends all the stuff. I take care of all the social media side of it, and Johan just rocks up for the fucking ride. But obviously, I'm happy to share it with Johan because obviously he's my pal, and it means that I just get to spend more time with him and talk to him more.
Well, that's our reason for doing it, Mike. It's
It
just
is,
like
absolutely. We've said a million times that if me and Baz lived in the same town, we wouldn't be 3 years into a podcast. We'd have binned it ages ago. But this is our chance for me and Baz in two different, like me in the far northwest of Ireland and him in by a roundabout somewhere near Milton Keynes.
Literally, yeah.
And you know, it's like this is our chance to have a drink and a chat with each other. We just let other people, we'll let them sneak in and have a watch and a listen. So that's all we do it for. But anyway, let's talk a bit more about the podcast. The first thing I need to say about your podcast, I have been listening to it and very much enjoying it. I do have one complaint though.
Please.
And it's about the episode Baz was on. He was far funnier and more entertaining on your podcast than he's ever been in the 70, like over 100 episodes of our podcast.
Mate, it's because he was reunited with the Beer Town voice.
I don't know what it was. But I'm going to bring it up in Baz's performance review when we have one. But like I say, we're 3 years in and we haven't had one yet, so maybe that's the thing we need to do.
I'll tell you what it was, is because their podcast is quite smutty and ours is quite safe.
Yeah. The podcast is very smutty.
So yeah, that seems like a great time to tell us a bit more about the podcast.
Yeah.
So it's called the Confessional Podcast, right?
Yes, sir. So it's called the Confessional Podcast. People basically send in completely anonymous confessions, secrets, questions, or kind of stories which would gain a reaction. And whether that is a sad story, a happy story, or they often quite tend to be quite naughty, smutty, fucking downright, outrageously filthy confessions as well. They're 100% anonymous, so we don't know who sent them. The only way we would know if for somebody who sent it would be, "Oh, hi, this is Rick, and this is my story." Otherwise, we would have zero, like we honestly have no idea. They send that through a Google form. The producer gets that. He reads them out to us, and me and Johan have a very open, non-judgmental, honest discussion about them. And obviously we give our opinions on them, but we're not like, "That person's a fucking dickhead. They shouldn't be doing that. What are you fucking..." We're like, cool. I give my opinion. Johan gives his opinion. Apart from yesterday, that was episode 14 that we recorded, and it's the first time that I've actually said, "Well, this person who sent that in is an actual cunt." And that's the first time I've said it. Genuinely.
I love how you've gone from no judgment at all to cunt.
Yeah, so,
I mean,
that was the other part.
there's a huge number of levels in between those two, and you've just gone from you've gone to 0 to 100 straight off.
Okay.
Like, straight off, mate.
Hear me out, right? Hear me out. And I'll say it. So this person said, "I was driving down the motorway, and before I got to the services, I shat myself in the car. And I was so annoyed. When I got out of my car, I got a handful of shit, and I smeared it over people's parked cars on my way to the bathroom to sort myself out."
Oh, yeah, that's definitely...
That's cunters, mate.
I'm there with you. I'm there with you. Absolutely.
Right? So I can't even have a discussion about that and be like, well, maybe you shouldn't have wiped your hand full of your own feces on other people's parked cars who are just going to have a spot of lunch, probably with their kids, on the way to a family holiday. No, you're just a cunt. Like, there's no other discussion about it, is there?
See, I'm struggling on the logic. I mean, I'm struggling on the logic because there is no logic to it. But at what point do you think, I'm having a really bad day, so the only thing that'll make me happier is for other people to have their days ruined.
Yeah.
That'll make me feel better.
Yeah, but then I'm not going to see their reaction because
No.
I'm going to sort myself out and I'm going to go. But I'm just going to smear my own shit on other people's cars because I can.
But Mike, to be honest, mate, there's I would say probably about 90% of the confessions that comes in makes no fucking logic to me at all, mate.
Oh, I love it, mate. So
See, this is a thing that from listening to your podcast, I've picked up, right, is that some of them are smutty, yeah, a lot of them are smutty, and as you will know if you heard or you saw the previous podcast that we had Rick on, Rick's upbringing was basically Rick from a very young age was surrounded by sexual activity. That sounds like you were the victim of paedophilia. That's not what happened.
I was not the victim of paedophilia.
No, that's not what happened.
I grew up in brothels.
There you go. You grew up in brothels. So Rick's mother was a landlady who rented space to women of the night.
That's a lovely expression.
That's a very eloquent way of saying it.
Yeah,
I like that.
You know,
I like that.
So Rick used to give prostitutes lift home and things like that. So was surrounded by it. So is very open about stuff like that, and which is reflected in the OnlyFans and the content and all that kind of stuff. And then we've got Johan.
Who grew up Christian.
It's a rigid old man.
I love it. I was going to say Johan's character because it is almost like you both, but you are you. Do you know what I mean? But it's almost like Johan's just. I've been listening to the audio version of the podcast, but I can see Johan's face just contorting in a. What are these fucking weirdos doing?
Oh,
do you know what I
love
mean? And Rick's always like, I'm not going to kink shame anyone. And Johan's going, they're fucking weird.
Literally. Bro, it's his face. So obviously I'm watching him as the producer's reading these out. And his reactions fucking kill me, mate. Like obviously you can't hide a face, can you? Like when you're either disgusted or surprised or confused by it. And obviously Johan's facial reactions they literally make me crease, and I fucking love it. Like I actually love it. It's the best. You know, it would be. I think it would be a lot if there was like another hyper, fucking crazy, horny like puppy. If there was two of us, it would just nearly be too much, wouldn't it? So, you know, we've kind of got the young, handsome youth, and then the old, grumpy, rigid cunt. I love it. It's the best.
Uncalled for.
The best.
Yeah, I love how it was like the good-looking young guy, and then this old guy, the model.
Yeah.
Your analogy fell down a little bit there, Rick. Do you know what I mean?
Touche, sir. I will fucking put myself back in my box.
I've got a story I want to tell at this point. I think we mentioned it when Johan was on this. Johan's obviously done modelling for corporate, business stuff in the world. And I remember my wife sent me a picture of this guy. She said, "Oh, we've got this corporate pack of people we can use for our marketing. Is this Johan?" It's like a picture of Johan that they've got in their stock of him looking like all sort of cool and bearded, like for an account company. I fucking love it. It's like that's my mate Johan. He's part of your company now.
Yes.
Yeah. So like publicising auditors. I'm presuming Johan was rung one on the ladder of getting to flown out to Thailand as the 10-year face of the lottery in Czech and Slovakia. I know they said Czechoslovakia then, like it's 1987.
There used to be one.
I implore everybody to go and search it. We'll put the links underneath. And this is what I love about podcasts as well. You know, you wouldn't get a TV show advertising another TV show, but
not so much.
I just think that the world of podcasting is much more open to that and much more supportive. And once you've finished, don't fucking stop listening to this one yet. Once you've finished listening to this one, go and listen to their one as well. So I'll put the links to everything in the description on Spotify, Apple Music, and all that kind of stuff. So go on ahead and listen to that. Start off with the one that Baz is on, obviously, and listen to how good he could be if he tried harder on our podcast.
That's episode 12. Baz is on.
Episode 12. So listen to episode 12 and imagine Baz being that good on our podcast.
But it's worth noting as well. It's like these guys got a producer in from episode 1. Mine and Mike's first episode was 2 drunken fucking knobheads getting absolutely pissed for 4 hours, and I think the last 3 hours are unintelligible garbage, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's just slurring.
It was live. It was live for like 4 hours, and we're like, let's try new drinks and do all this kind of stuff. And it is available still. It's on the Dad Dancer YouTube, which I don't do anything for of anything either. That's completely underutilized YouTube channel, but it is still on there. But the 4 hours that we were live is now 45 minutes.
Nice.
Because when I started it got to a point where I got so uncomfortable editing it, I was like, I'm just going to have to fucking stop it here. This is awful. It's like, you know when you wake up from a night out and you just go, oh, we had such a good time. If somebody filmed it, you'd be like, you fucking idiots. Do you know what I mean? It was like that. So nobody needs the mirror of them actually being pissed.
No, but in
reflected
fairness,
back to them when they're sober. It's horrible to watch.
But in fairness, these guys here had the idea to make a podcast. You said to me one Wednesday, oh, we should turn this into a podcast. And then the Tuesday after, you said, go into this link, we're doing a podcast tomorrow night. That was my introduction into the podcast world. It's like, okay, it's like a FaceTime live? No, it's not.
No,
well, that's how ours started,
amazing.
you see. Ours started with it in lockdown. Me and Baz got chatting through TikTok and a mutual appreciation of our work on social media. And then we just started FaceTiming. Because all the pubs were shut, we were like, oh, this is good, this. We've got a decent following. Should we just do it online?
I used to log into your lives on TikTok, and you used to do that pub thing, didn't you?
The quiz?
We did, yeah. We did
I
the
used to
pub
watch
quiz and
them.
stuff. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And so, we just were like, let's turn this into a podcast. So, a week after telling him that we would do it, I sent him a link and said, right, we're doing it, and we're going live on YouTube. So
Nice.
but we don't go live anymore. It's far too stressful, and I've got far more control over what gets seen and what doesn't get seen now.
I think the thing is when you do it live as well is you've got to continuously talk. There can't be breaks in between where you're going umming and ahhing. It is just continually talking, and your brain is just got to keep fucking working, mate. All
Yeah, but
the
you've
time.
got Rick on your podcast. So when I first found Rick on TikTok, Rick used to do a live like every lunchtime.
Oh my goodness.
Or in his garden. And I always remember going, because it was at the time when people were doing like the follow parties on TikTok, and then Rick used to come on there and just do this amazing live where he'd be so fucking positive. I sit and watch it like for about an hour. And like, I was like, this is what you need to do. This is before we even became friends. And I was like, well, I need to tap this guy up and and try and get on his live one time. And then we eventually met. But I used to love watching his lives. But you transferred that kind of, like you just said, that kind of bubbly nature into the podcast as well.
Yeah. So I used to pride myself on TikTok Live on answering every single fucking comment.
Yeah.
Right, so I used to watch people's TikTok lives because obviously in 2020 we all had all of the time in the world, and I used to watch quite a lot of lives, and it used to my bugbear was when people didn't respond to people's comments, and I don't know why, but it used to infuriate me. And in my head I was like, answer that person. They've asked you the same question like 3 times. Answer that. And it used to really annoy me. So whenever I went live, I used to fucking try my damnedest to answer every single comment, every single one. And sometimes I used to have hundreds of people in my live, and the fucking comments like, bring, and I'd be scrolling back down to answer every single one.
Yeah, see, I tried a few, but it was too fucking stressful for me. No, I didn't like it. It's like, fuck this.
Billionaire
That's
status,
effort.
mate. Billionaire status.
Honestly, mate, it was. I think
need
I
it.
did maybe a maximum of 5 lives, and I made Baz a moderator.
Yeah, I know.
And he used to say to people, "Calm down, he'll get to you. He'll get to you." In the comments, I read that a few times.
I used to answer
like,
I used to answer comments for you on those.
That's
lines
right, yeah,
as well.
because it was just too fucking stressful for me. It's like, no, fuck this shit.
See, this is just further illustration of the yin and yang that makes you two so brilliant together.
It's perfect, isn't it? You got-
The bouncy, excited, like full of energy puppy, and the yeah, I'll do it later, man.
Yeah, but literally, he's like, "Oh, just chill out, bro." I'm like, "No, let's do it now." Yeah.
But can I just say about your podcast as well? It's like, so Johan goes from being super chilled. When he gets animated, fucking proper goes off, right?
Oh, mate, honestly, sometimes
He does, mate.
he's like me.
Go on, Johan. Did you want to respond to that, Johan?
Well, it depends, mate. If I'm passionate about something, I can. Yeah, I do. Yeah, passion.
Yes, if something
More
tickles
passion,
his pickle,
more
mate,
energy,
he
more
fucking wakes up. Honestly, like he does.
But I like the idea that you could sort of like put titles on your podcast going, Johan gets on this one. Listen, everybody.
Yeah, you know, right? So some of the listeners are like fucking. Some of them are quite smitten with Johan's voice. We get a lot of DMs on the Confessional Podcast Instagram of like, "Oh my god, I'm fucking flicking my own bean over Johan's voice," whatever. We do get some quite raunchy DMs, but I mean, Johan wouldn't know anyway because he doesn't ever go into the Confessional WhatsApp group. And he literally just rocks up on a Tuesday. So just because, like, we don't even invite him to collaborate on Instagram because he's like, "Well, I'm not going to bother sharing it, so don't bother inviting me." Like, he literally said that to me. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, fuck me then. Don't worry about it." Like, sound.
That sounds like he's being used just for his pretty face and his pretty voice, to be honest.
Well, it fucking seems so, doesn't it? It does.
Right, I don't think there's going to be a bombshell this week. I think we'll just wrap it up this way in terms of, I need to just say thank you to our guests, Rick and Johan, for a number of things. Firstly, for coming on to the podcast. Secondly, just I feel blessed that you are here. I feel blessed that I consider you both as friends. Whether you do or not is irrelevant. I feel blessed that you both have phenomenal audio. Thank you very much, because it saves me a massive fucking job. Not that Johan or Baz understand the traumas of trying to get audio right for a podcast.
No idea what you're talking about.
Nothing. Way over their head, mate.
Did you see that bit of tumbleweed go past my back?
So, no, I need to thank you both massively for being here. Thank you, Rick, for taking your equipment down to where you're staying tonight, away from work, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you both for being on again. Massively appreciate it. Don't forget, everybody, you need to go and search out the Confessional podcast. It is brilliant. I know I'm biased because I like both these guys, but it is really, really good. The links are below, but if you can't find it in that, go and look for the Confessional podcast on all your usual audio platforms. If you can't find it, I'm pretty sure if you just Google Big Dick South African, it'll come up.
Just be Johan. Just be Johan.
Yeah.
And then a link to the
And on that
Confessional
bombshell, that's where we'll leave it for this week.
Yes!
I knew I'd squeeze one in there somehow. Right, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a review. Get in the comment section. All of the comments and all of the reviews help to grow this bigger. And we've got another podcast that we need to compete against now. Which is theirs.
It's cool, isn't it?
Not really. Once you've listened to this one, go and subscribe to theirs. There's room for 2 podcasts in everyone's life. Yes! Just make sure it's ours and theirs. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.
guys.
Doodle peps.
Toodle pips. He got Toodle pips in.
Yeah, of course he did.